The Buddha, he who altered the historical roots of human consciousness. Siddhartha Gautama, known to the world as the Buddha, was born into a royal family in the ancient kingdom of Kapilavastu, located in present-day Nepal, around the 6th century BCE. His father, King Suddhodana, ruled the Shakya clan, and his mother, Queen Maya, gave birth to him in the Lumbini Grove. Legend has it that Siddhartha's birth was accompanied by miraculous signs. He took 7 steps immediately after being born, and a lotus flower bloomed with each step. These signs were interpreted by seers who predicted that he would either become a great king or a renowned spiritual leader. From a young age, Siddhartha was shielded from the harsh realities of life. His father, wishing for him to become a powerful ruler, surrounded him with luxury and ensured that he was never exposed to suffering, old age, sickness, or death. This sheltered upbringing was meant to keep him attached to worldly pleasures and prevent him from seeking a spiritual path. Despite the comfort and opulence, Siddhartha felt a profound sense of disquiet. His introspective nature and innate wisdom led him to question the purpose of life and the nature of true happiness. This inner turmoil set the stage for a transformative journey that would change the course of human consciousness. The turning point in Siddhartha's life came when he encountered the 4 sights during excursions outside the palace. An old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a wandering ascetic. These sights revealed to him the inevitable suffering that all beings endure and sparked a deep yearning to find a solution to this universal plight. Realizing that no amount of luxury could shield him from these truths, Siddhartha decided to renounce his princely life in pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. At the age of 29, Siddhartha left the palace, his family, and his royal duties behind. He became a wandering ascetic, determined to discover the root cause of suffering and the path to liberation. This renunciation marked the beginning of a 6-year period of intense spiritual practice, during which he sought guidance from various teachers and experimented with extreme asceticism. Despite mastering the teachings of his mentors and practicing severe self-mortification, Siddhartha realized that these methods did not lead to the enlightenment he sought. He understood that extreme deprivation was just as futile as indulgence in worldly pleasures. This realization led him to adopt the middle way, a balanced approach to spiritual practice that avoids the extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. Siddhartha's search for enlightenment culminated under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya. After meditating for several days and nights, he attained profound insight into the nature of reality, the causes of suffering, and the path to liberation. This moment of enlightenment transformed Siddhartha Gautama into the Buddha, the awakened one. He had achieved a state of perfect wisdom and compassion, free from the illusions and attachments that bind ordinary beings. The Buddha's enlightenment was not just a personal achievement. It marked a pivotal moment in the history of human consciousness. By understanding the nature of suffering and the path to its cessation, the Buddha laid the groundwork for a new spiritual tradition that emphasized direct experience, inner transformation, and universal compassion. His teachings, known as the Dharma, provided practical guidance for individuals seeking to overcome suffering and attain enlightenment. The Buddha spent the next 45 years of his life teaching the Dharma to all who were willing to listen. He established a community of monks and nuns, known as the Sangha, who dedicated their lives to practicing and preserving his teachings. The Buddha's approach was inclusive and compassionate, addressing the needs and capacities of diverse individuals. He tailored his teachings to suit different audiences, whether they were kings, merchants, farmers, or beggars. The historical and spiritual impact of the Buddha's teachings cannot be overstated. His insights into the nature of suffering, the impermanence of all phenomena, and the non-self-challenged existing religious and philosophical paradigms. The Buddha's emphasis on personal responsibility, ethical conduct, and mindfulness resonated deeply with his contemporaries and continues to inspire millions of people worldwide. The prophecy surrounding the birth of Prince Siddhartha foretold that he would either become a great king who would unify India or a spiritual leader who would alleviate the suffering of humanity. These predictions profoundly affected his father, King Suddhodana, who was determined to ensure that his son followed the path of rulership rather than renunciation. To achieve this, the king orchestrated an environment of unparalleled luxury and indulgence, shielding Siddhartha from any exposure to the harsh realities of life. Despite the meticulous efforts to keep him within the palace walls, Siddhartha's innate curiosity and contemplative nature could not be contained. As he grew older, he became increasingly restless and sought permission to venture beyond the confines of the palace. Reluctantly, his father consented, but only after ensuring that the route would be carefully managed to avoid any distressing sights. However, destiny had other plans. During his excursions, Siddhartha encountered what are now known as the four sights: an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a wandering ascetic. These encounters were profoundly unsettling. Seeing the old man, he realized the inevitability of aging. Witnessing the sick man, he understood the inevitability of illness. Observing the dead man, he confronted the certainty of death. And meeting the ascetic, he glimpsed the possibility of a life dedicated to seeking deeper truths. These revelations shattered Siddhartha's perception of the world and ignited a burning desire to find a solution to the pervasive suffering that characterized human existence. The protective walls of the palace, both physical and psychological, began to feel like a prison. He could no longer find solace in the transient pleasures of his royal life, knowing they were impermanent and ultimately unsatisfying. Determined to uncover the truth behind suffering and the means to overcome it, Siddhartha made a momentous decision. At the age of 29, he renounced his princely status, abandoned his luxurious life, and left behind his wife Yasodhara and his newborn son Rahula. This act of renunciation, known as the Great Departure, was driven by a profound sense of compassion and responsibility toward all sentient beings. As a wandering ascetic, Siddhartha sought out the most renowned spiritual teachers of his time. He first studied under Alara Kalama and then Uddaka Ramaputa, mastering their teachings and attaining the highest states of meditative absorption they could offer. However, despite these accomplishments, he realized that these states were temporary and did not lead to ultimate liberation from suffering. Unwavering in his quest, Siddhartha turned to extreme ascetic practices, believing that mortifying the body might purify the mind. He subjected himself to severe austerities, fasting to the point of emaciation and enduring intense physical pain. For 6 years, he pursued these extreme measures with unwavering determination, but they brought him no closer to the enlightenment he sought. Recognizing the futility of self-mortification, Siddhartha recalled a moment of spontaneous meditative absorption he experienced as a child, sitting under a rose apple tree. This memory led him to realize that neither extreme indulgence nor extreme asceticism was the path to enlightenment. He embraced the middle way, a balanced approach that avoided the extremes of self-indulgence and self-denial. Siddhartha accepted a meal from a village girl named Sujata, which restored his physical strength and symbolized his rejection of extreme asceticism. Revitalized, he made his way to the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, where he resolved to meditate until he attained enlightenment. Over the course of several days and nights, he faced and overcame the temptations and distractions personified by Mara, the evil one. On the full moon night of Vesak, Siddhartha attained profound insight into the nature of existence, realizing the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. He understood the causes of suffering and the way to its cessation, achieving nirvana and becoming the Buddha, the awakened one. This enlightenment was not just a personal awakening, but a momentous event that altered the course of human consciousness. The Buddha's enlightenment marked the birth of a revolutionary teacher whose insights transcended the spiritual traditions of his time. He did not merely reform existing practices. He introduced an entirely new paradigm of understanding and transforming the human condition. His teachings emphasized direct personal experience, ethical living, and the cultivation of mindfulness and wisdom. After attaining enlightenment, the Buddha initially hesitated to teach, doubting whether anyone would understand the profound truths he had realized. However, encouraged by the gods Brahma and Indra, he resolved to share his insights for the benefit of all beings. He first taught the Dharma to his former companions, the 5 ascetics, in the deer park at Sarnath. This sermon, known as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, setting in motion the wheel of Dharma, marked the beginning of his public teaching career. The Buddha's teachings resonated with a diverse array of people, regardless of their social status, background, or prior beliefs. His emphasis on the universality of suffering and the potential for liberation provided a powerful and inclusive message. The Buddha's ability to communicate profound spiritual truths in a clear and accessible manner contributed to the rapid spread of his teachings. As a teacher, the Buddha was compassionate, patient, and pragmatic. He used a variety of methods to convey his message, including parables, analogies, and direct instruction. He encouraged his followers to question, investigate, and verify his teachings through their own experience rather than accepting them on blind faith. The Buddha's establishment of the Sangha, a community of monks and nuns, ensured the preservation and propagation of his teachings. The Sangha served as both a support system for practitioners and a vehicle for transmitting the Dharma across generations. The Buddha's teachings, known collectively as the Dharma, were codified in the Pali Canon and other Buddhist scriptures, forming the foundation of various Buddhist traditions. The legacy of the Buddha's teachings has endured for over 2 millennia, profoundly influencing spiritual, philosophical, and cultural landscapes across the globe. His insights into the nature of suffering, the impermanence of all phenomena, and the non-self have challenged and enriched human understanding. The Buddha's emphasis on mindfulness, ethical conduct, and wisdom continues to inspire individuals seeking a path to inner peace and liberation. The journey of Prince Siddhartha from the opulent palace of Kapilavastu to the humble hermitages and forests of ancient India is one of the most compelling narratives in spiritual history. After witnessing the 4 sights, old age, sickness, death, and a wandering ascetic, Siddhartha was profoundly shaken. These encounters unveiled the stark realities of human existence and ignited in him a fervent desire to seek a solution to the pervasive suffering he observed. At the age of 29, Siddhartha made a decisive break from his royal life. On the night of his departure, he took one last look at his sleeping wife, Yasodhara, and his newborn son, Rahula, and quietly left the palace. His resolve was unyielding. He knew that he could not return until he had found the answers he sought. This act of renunciation, known as the Great Departure, was both an act of compassion for all sentient beings and a personal quest for liberation. Siddhartha first sought out the most renowned spiritual teachers of his time. He approached Alara Kalama, who taught him the stages of meditation, leading to the sphere of nothingness. Siddhartha quickly mastered these meditative states, but realized they did not lead to the ultimate liberation he sought. He then studied under Udaka Ramaputta, who guided him to the state of neither perception nor non-perception. Again, Siddhartha excelled, but found that these attainments were impermanent and did not provide the profound insight into the nature of suffering he was seeking. Disillusioned but not discouraged, Siddhartha decided to pursue extreme ascetic practices, believing that mortifying the body might purify the mind and lead to enlightenment. He joined a group of 5 ascetics and began practicing severe austerities in the forest of Uruvela. He subjected himself to rigorous fasting, reducing his intake to a mere handful of nuts and berries. His body became emaciated, his ribs protruding, and his skin clinging to his bones. Yet despite the physical torment, enlightenment remained elusive. During this period, Siddhartha's determination never wavered. He pushed the limits of physical endurance, holding his breath for extended periods and sitting in painful postures. His commitment to his practice was so intense that it alarmed even his fellow ascetics. They admired his perseverance, but feared for his life. Siddhartha, however, was driven by an unwavering belief that the path to enlightenment lay in transcending physical limitations. After 6 years of relentless asceticism, Siddhartha realized that self-mortification was not the path to enlightenment. One day, while bathing in the river Niranjana, he collapsed from sheer exhaustion. At that moment, he experienced a flash of insight. Neither extreme indulgence nor extreme asceticism could lead to true liberation. He recalled a serene experience from his childhood when he had entered a meditative state under a roseapple tree. This memory guided him toward the middle way, a balanced approach that eschewed both extreme self-denial and self-indulgence. Recognizing the need to restore his physical strength, Siddhartha accepted a meal of rice and milk from a village girl named Sujata. This act symbolized his rejection of extreme asceticism and his embrace of the middle way. Revitalized, he made his way to a grove of trees in Bodh Gaya, where he found a large Bodhi tree. Siddhartha resolved to meditate beneath this tree until he attained enlightenment, vowing not to rise until he had achieved his goal. As Siddhartha settled into meditation under the Bodhi tree, he entered deep states of concentration. His mind became increasingly focused and serene. However, this tranquility was soon challenged by Mara, the evil one, who sought to distract and deter him from his quest. Mara assaulted Siddhartha with a series of temptations and threats. He conjured terrifying visions and summoned his armies to attack, but Siddhartha remained unshaken. Mara then sent his beautiful daughters to seduce Siddhartha, but he remained impervious to their charms, steadfast in his meditation. Through these trials, Siddhartha's resolve only grew stronger. He summoned all his inner resources, reflecting deeply on the nature of existence, the causes of suffering, and the path to its cessation. As the night wore on, his insights deepened. He recalled his past lives, understood the workings of karma, and perceived the interconnectedness of all phenomena. Finally, as the morning star rose on the horizon, Siddhartha attained a profound realization. He understood the Four Noble Truths: the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the cessation of suffering, and the truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. He also comprehended the Noble Eightfold Path, the practical steps to attain liberation. This moment of enlightenment transformed Siddhartha into the Buddha, the awakened one. The Buddha's enlightenment was a turning point in the history of human consciousness. He had discovered a path that was accessible to all, regardless of their background or status. The Buddha's insights were revolutionary, challenging existing spiritual and philosophical paradigms. His realization of the impermanence of all things, the non-self, anatta, and the interdependent nature of reality provided a radical departure from the prevailing religious doctrines of his time. In the immediate aftermath of his enlightenment, the Buddha spent several weeks in silent reflection, absorbing the magnitude of his experience and considering how best to convey his insights to others. Initially, he hesitated, doubting whether anyone would understand the profound truths he had realized. However, moved by compassion and encouraged by the gods, Brahma and Indra, he resolved to share his insights for the benefit of all beings. The Buddha's decision to teach marked the beginning of a remarkable 45-year ministry. He set out to Varanasi, Benares, to find his former companions, the 5 ascetics. Upon encountering them in the deer park at Sarnath, he delivered his first sermon, known as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, or setting in motion the wheel of Dharma. In this discourse, he expounded the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, laying the foundation for his teachings. The 5 ascetics, initially skeptical, were soon won over by the clarity and profundity of the Buddha's teachings. They became his first disciples, forming the nucleus of the Sangha, the community of monks and nuns dedicated to following the Buddha's path. The Sangha would grow rapidly, attracting individuals from all walks of life who were inspired by the Buddha's message of liberation. The Buddha's teachings emphasized direct personal experience and encouraged individuals to test his insights through their own practice. He urged his followers to cultivate mindfulness, ethical conduct, and wisdom, and to undertake a disciplined approach to meditation. The Buddha's pragmatic and inclusive approach resonated deeply with his contemporaries, offering a path to liberation that was both accessible and transformative. The Buddha's enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya marked the culmination of his quest for ultimate truth and the beginning of his mission to share his profound insights with the world. His teachings, known as the Dharma, form the cornerstone of Buddhism and offer practical guidance for overcoming suffering and attaining liberation. Central to the Buddha's teachings are the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, which outline the nature of suffering and the means to transcend it. The Four Noble Truths are the foundation of the Buddha's teachings, providing a comprehensive framework for understanding the human condition and the path to liberation. The first noble truth is the truth of suffering, dukkha. The Buddha taught that suffering is an inherent part of existence. This suffering encompasses not only the obvious forms of physical pain and emotional distress, but also the more subtle dissatisfaction and unease that pervade everyday life. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are all sources of suffering, as are the frustrations and disappointments of unfulfilled desires and unmet expectations. The second noble truth is the truth of the cause of suffering, samudaya. The Buddha identified desire or craving, tanha, as the primary cause of suffering. This craving manifests in various forms, including the desire for sensual pleasures, the desire for existence, and the desire for non-existence. These cravings lead to attachment and clinging, which in turn give rise to suffering. The Buddha also highlighted the role of ignorance, avijja, in perpetuating this cycle of craving and suffering. Ignorance obscures the true nature of reality, leading individuals to seek fulfillment in transient and impermanent phenomena. The third noble truth is the truth of the cessation of suffering, nirodha. The Buddha taught that it is possible to overcome suffering by eliminating its cause. When craving and attachment are uprooted, suffering ceases, leading to a state of peace and liberation known as nirvana. Nirvana is not a place or a state to be achieved in the future. Rather, it is the realization of the true nature of existence and the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. It is a state of profound freedom, inner peace, and ultimate bliss. The fourth noble truth is the truth of the path, leading to the cessation of suffering, magga. The Buddha outlined the Noble Eightfold Path as the practical means to achieve liberation. This path is divided into three main categories: ethical conduct, sila, mental discipline, samadhi, and wisdom, panna. Each category encompasses specific practices that support the cultivation of a wholesome and liberated life. Ethical conduct forms the foundation of the path and includes right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Right speech involves abstaining from lying, divisive speech, harsh words, and idle chatter. It encourages truthful, harmonious, and constructive communication. Right action involves refraining from harmful behaviors, such as killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. It promotes actions that are compassionate, ethical, and beneficial to oneself and others. Right livelihood entails earning a living in a manner that does not cause harm or suffering to others, supporting a life of integrity and ethical values. Mental discipline encompasses right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Right effort involves cultivating positive states of mind and preventing the arising of unwholesome states. It requires diligence and perseverance in developing virtues such as loving kindness, compassion, and equanimity. Right mindfulness is the practice of maintaining a clear and focused awareness of one's thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations, and surroundings. It involves observing these experiences without attachment or aversion, fostering a deep sense of presence and insight. Right concentration involves developing deep states of meditative absorption, jhana, through focused and sustained attention. These states of concentration provide a stable foundation for cultivating insight and wisdom. Wisdom includes right view and right intention. Right view involves understanding the Four Noble Truths and the nature of reality as described by the Buddha. It requires seeing through the illusions of self and permanence and recognizing the interdependent and impermanent nature of all phenomena. Right intention involves cultivating intentions that are free from ill will, harmfulness, and attachment. It encourages intentions that are rooted in compassion, loving kindness, and renunciation. The Buddha's teachings on the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path are complemented by other key concepts that further illuminate the path to liberation. One such concept is impermanence, anicca. The Buddha taught that all conditioned phenomena are impermanent and subject to change. This insight helps practitioners develop a sense of detachment and equanimity, recognizing that clinging to transient experiences inevitably leads to suffering. Another central teaching is the concept of non-self, anatta. The Buddha challenged the prevailing notions of a permanent, unchanging self, asserting that what we consider the self is actually a composite of ever-changing physical and mental constituents, skandhas. This understanding helps dissolve the ego and reduces attachment to self-centered desires and identities. The Buddha also emphasized the importance of dependent origination, paticca samuppada, which explains how suffering arises through a chain of interconnected causes and conditions. By understanding and breaking this chain, practitioners can interrupt the cycle of suffering and attain liberation. Throughout his teachings, the Buddha underscored the importance of direct personal experience and encouraged his followers to verify his teachings through their own practice. He famously advised, "Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. But after observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it." The Buddha's pragmatic approach and emphasis on personal verification resonated deeply with his contemporaries and continued to attract followers worldwide. His teachings offer a path of ethical living, mental cultivation, and wisdom that leads to the ultimate goal of liberation from suffering. In addition to these core teachings, the Buddha provided practical guidance on various aspects of daily life, from interpersonal relationships to social harmony. He taught the importance of cultivating virtues such as loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha. These qualities, known as the Brahma Viharas, or the Four Divine Abodes, form the basis of a harmonious and compassionate life. The Buddha's teachings also extended to the social and communal dimensions of human life. He emphasized the importance of right conduct within the community and encouraged the establishment of supportive and ethical communities, sangha. The sangha, comprising monks, nuns, and lay followers, played a crucial role in preserving and disseminating the Buddha's teachings. The rules of monastic discipline, Vinaya, established by the Buddha, ensured that the monastic community lived in harmony and adhered to the principles of ethical conduct. The Buddha's teachings have been preserved and transmitted through various Buddhist traditions, including Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Each tradition has its own unique interpretations and practices, but all share the common goal of following the Buddha's path to liberation. The Pali Canon, Mahayana Sutras, and Tibetan Tantras are some of the key scriptures that contain the Buddha's teachings and serve as important sources of guidance for practitioners. The impact of the Buddha's core teachings on human consciousness and society is profound and enduring. His insights into the nature of suffering, the causes of suffering, and the path to liberation continue to inspire individuals and communities around the world. The principles of mindfulness, ethical conduct, and wisdom that he espoused have found resonance in diverse cultural and spiritual contexts, contributing to the global spread of Buddhism and its integration into contemporary life. The Buddha's enlightenment and subsequent teachings marked the beginning of a transformative movement that would spread far beyond the borders of ancient India. His teachings, grounded in practical wisdom and compassion, resonated deeply with a diverse array of people, leading to the rapid expansion of Buddhism across the Indian subcontinent and eventually the world. After attaining enlightenment, the Buddha initially hesitated to teach, doubting whether anyone would comprehend the profound truths he had realized. However, motivated by deep compassion and encouraged by Brahma Sahampati, he decided to share his insights for the benefit of all beings. His first teaching, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, was delivered to his 5 former ascetic companions in the deer park at Sarnath. This sermon set the wheel of Dharma in motion, outlining the 4 noble truths and the noble eightfold path. The 5 ascetics, initially skeptical, were soon convinced by the clarity and profundity of the Buddha's teachings. They became the first members of the Sangha, the monastic community that would play a crucial role in the preservation and dissemination of the Buddha's teachings. The Sangha grew rapidly as the Buddha traveled across the Ganges plain, teaching in towns and villages, attracting followers from all walks of life. His message appealed to kings and merchants, farmers and artisans, scholars and householders alike. One of the most significant figures in the early spread of Buddhism was King Bimbisara of Magadha, who became a devoted follower of the Buddha. Bimbisara offered the Buddha and his disciples the Veluvana monastery in Rajagaha, which became an important center for the growing monastic community. This royal patronage not only provided material support but also lent credibility and prestige to the fledgling movement. Another key supporter was Anathapindika, a wealthy merchant who donated the Jetavana monastery near Savatthi. This monastery became one of the most important centers of Buddhist teaching and practice. The Buddha spent many rainy seasons at Jetavana, giving discourses and guiding his disciples in meditation. The Buddha's teachings spread through the dedicated efforts of his disciples, who traveled widely to propagate the Dharma. Sariputta and Moggallana, two of the Buddha's chief disciples, played pivotal roles in teaching and organizing the Sangha. Ananda, the Buddha's cousin and personal attendant, was instrumental in preserving the Buddha's discourses, ensuring their transmission after the Buddha's passing. The formalization of the monastic community through the Vinaya rules provided a stable structure for the Sangha, facilitating the dissemination of teachings while maintaining the ethical integrity of the community. The establishment of monasteries and the support of lay followers created a symbiotic relationship that enabled Buddhism to flourish. One of the most transformative events in the spread of Buddhism was the conversion of Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE. Ashoka, initially a fierce and ambitious ruler, experienced a profound change of heart after witnessing the horrors of war. Embracing the Buddha's teachings, he dedicated his reign to the promotion of Dharma. Ashoka's support for Buddhism was unparalleled. He built stupas, monasteries, and pillars inscribed with edicts that proclaimed the principles of Buddhism. Ashoka sent missionaries to various regions, spreading Buddhism beyond India's borders. His emissaries reached Sri Lanka, where they were received with great respect. The establishment of Buddhism in Sri Lanka was particularly significant, leading to the formation of a strong Theravada tradition that has persisted to this day. Ashoka's missionaries also traveled to Central Asia, the Mediterranean, and Southeast Asia, laying the groundwork for the spread of Buddhism across these regions. Buddhism continued to evolve and adapt as it spread to new cultures and environments. In Central Asia, it encountered Hellenistic influences, leading to a unique fusion of Greek and Buddhist art and philosophy. The Silk Road played a crucial role in the transmission of Buddhist teachings and practices, facilitating cultural exchanges between East and West. In China, Buddhism encountered Confucianism and Taoism, leading to the development of distinct schools such as Chan, Zen in Japan, and Pure Land Buddhism. The translation of Buddhist texts into Chinese by dedicated monks like Kumarajiva and Xuanzang was instrumental in making the teachings accessible to a broader audience. The support of Chinese emperors and the establishment of monasteries further solidified Buddhism's presence in China. From China, Buddhism spread to Korea, Japan, and Vietnam, each region developing its own unique interpretation and practices. In Japan, Zen Buddhism emphasized direct experience and meditation, resonating deeply with the samurai and influencing Japanese culture, art, and aesthetics. Pure Land Buddhism, with its emphasis on devotion to Amitabha Buddha, became immensely popular among lay people. In Southeast Asia, Buddhism adapted to local traditions and customs, leading to the emergence of vibrant Theravada communities in countries like Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos. The practice of Vipassana meditation, rooted in the Theravada tradition, gained widespread popularity, offering practical techniques for cultivating mindfulness and insight. The spread of Buddhism was not without challenges. It faced periods of decline and persecution, particularly during invasions and political upheavals. However, the resilience of the monastic community and the enduring appeal of the Buddha's teachings ensured its survival and resurgence. In the modern era, Buddhism has continued to spread globally, finding new expressions and adaptations. The teachings of the Buddha resonate with contemporary seekers, offering insights into mindfulness, ethics, and the nature of consciousness. The establishment of Buddhist centers and the translation of texts into various languages have made the teachings accessible to a global audience. Meditation and mindfulness are at the heart of the Buddha's teachings, providing practical tools for understanding the mind, cultivating inner peace, and realizing the true nature of existence. These practices, rooted in the Buddha's own experiences of awakening, offer a path to liberation that is accessible to all. The Buddha emphasized the importance of direct personal experience in the pursuit of enlightenment. He encouraged his followers to engage in meditation as a means of gaining insight into the nature of reality and overcoming the mental afflictions that cause suffering. Meditation, in the Buddhist context, is a disciplined practice aimed at training the mind, developing concentration, and cultivating wisdom. One of the core meditative practices taught by the Buddha is vipassana, or insight meditation. Vipassana involves the systematic observation of bodily sensations, thoughts, and emotions, fostering a deep understanding of their impermanent and interdependent nature. The practice begins with the cultivation of mindfulness, sati, a state of clear and focused awareness. Mindfulness serves as the foundation for vipassana, enabling practitioners to observe their experiences without attachment or aversion. The Buddha's instructions on mindfulness are encapsulated in the Satipatthana Sutta, which outlines 4 foundations of mindfulness: mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of mental phenomena. Mindfulness of the body involves observing bodily sensations, movements, and postures with focused awareness. This practice helps develop a sense of presence and grounding, fostering a deeper connection to the present moment. Mindfulness of feelings involves observing pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings as they arise and pass away. This practice helps practitioners understand the transient nature of feelings and reduces the tendency to react impulsively to them. Mindfulness of the mind involves observing mental states such as joy, anger, or calmness, fostering an understanding of their impermanence and interconnectedness. Finally, mindfulness of mental phenomena involves observing thoughts, perceptions, and mental formations, gaining insight into their nature and the ways they shape our experiences. Through consistent practice, mindfulness and vipassana meditation lead to the development of clear comprehension, sampajana, and equanimity, upekkha. Clear comprehension involves understanding the purpose, suitability, and consequences of one's actions, leading to more mindful and intentional living. Equanimity is a state of balanced awareness, characterized by inner peace and impartiality, regardless of external circumstances. The Buddha also taught samatha meditation, or tranquility meditation, which involves developing deep states of concentration, jhana, through focused attention on a single object, such as the breath, a mantra, or a visual image. The practice of samatha helps calm the mind, reduce mental distractions, and cultivate a stable foundation for insight meditation. The jhanas are states of profound mental stillness and joy, providing a temporary respite from the turbulence of ordinary consciousness. Samatha and vipassana are often practiced together, with samatha providing the stability and clarity needed for deep insight, and vipassana offering the penetrating wisdom necessary for liberation. The integration of these practices fosters a balanced and comprehensive approach to meditation, addressing both the calming and insight aspects of the path. Another important meditative practice in Buddhism is metta bhavana, or the cultivation of loving kindness. Metta bhavana involves generating feelings of unconditional love and compassion towards oneself and others. The practice begins with directing loving kindness towards oneself, then gradually extending it to loved ones, neutral individuals, difficult people, and ultimately, all beings. Metta bhavana helps dissolve feelings of ill will, resentment, and hostility, fostering a sense of interconnectedness and universal love. In addition to formal meditation practices, the Buddha emphasized the importance of integrating mindfulness into daily life. Mindfulness in daily activities involves maintaining a continuous awareness of one's thoughts, words, and actions throughout the day. This practice helps bridge the gap between formal meditation and everyday experiences, fostering a deeper sense of presence and intentionality in all aspects of life. The benefits of meditation and mindfulness are manifold. These practices help reduce stress, anxiety, and negative emotions, promoting mental clarity, emotional resilience, and overall well-being. They enhance self-awareness, enabling individuals to recognize and transform unwholesome patterns of thought and behavior. Meditation and mindfulness also cultivate a sense of inner peace and contentment, fostering a more balanced and harmonious way of living. Scientific research has increasingly validated the positive effects of meditation and mindfulness on mental and physical health. Studies have shown that these practices can reduce symptoms of depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, enhance cognitive functioning, improve immune response, and promote overall well-being. The integration of mindfulness-based interventions in healthcare, education, and the workplace reflects the growing recognition of their value in contemporary society. The Buddha's teachings on meditation and mindfulness have inspired a wide range of practices and traditions within Buddhism. In the Theravada tradition, the emphasis is often on vipassana and the systematic cultivation of insight through the 4 foundations of mindfulness. In the Zen tradition, meditation practices such as zazen, sitting meditation, and koan study focus on direct, non-conceptual experiences of reality. In the Tibetan tradition, a variety of meditative practices, including visualization, mantra recitation, and analytical meditation, are employed to cultivate wisdom and compassion. Compassion and ethical conduct are integral to the Buddha's teachings, reflecting his profound commitment to alleviating suffering and promoting the well-being of all beings. The Buddha emphasized that true spiritual development is not only about personal enlightenment, but also about cultivating a compassionate heart and living a life of ethical integrity. Compassion, or karuna, is a fundamental quality in Buddhism. It is the deep, empathetic concern for the suffering of others and the sincere wish to alleviate that suffering. The Buddha's life and teachings exemplify this compassion. He spent over 4 decades traveling and teaching, motivated by the desire to help others find freedom from suffering. His compassion was boundless, extending to all beings, regardless of their background, status, or actions. The cultivation of compassion begins with the practice of metta bhavana, or loving-kindness meditation. Metta bhavana involves generating feelings of unconditional love and goodwill towards oneself and others. This practice helps dissolve feelings of ill will, resentment, and hostility, fostering a sense of interconnectedness and universal love. As practitioners deepen their practice, they extend loving-kindness to increasingly broader circles, ultimately encompassing all beings. Compassionate action is a natural extension of loving-kindness. It involves responding to the suffering of others with empathy, understanding, and a sincere desire to help. The Buddha encouraged his followers to engage in acts of generosity, service, and support, recognizing that such actions not only benefit others, but also cultivate positive qualities within oneself. Ethical conduct, or sila, is another cornerstone of the Buddha's teachings. The practice of ethical conduct provides a foundation for spiritual development, creating a stable and harmonious environment in which to cultivate mindfulness and wisdom. The Buddha outlined specific ethical guidelines to help practitioners live in a way that promotes harmony and reduces suffering. The 5 precepts are the basic ethical guidelines for lay Buddhists. They are: refraining from taking life. This precept encourages respect for all living beings and the practice of nonviolence. It involves abstaining from killing or harming any living creature, refraining from taking what is not given. This precept promotes honesty and integrity. It involves abstaining from stealing or taking anything that does not belong to oneself. Refraining from sexual misconduct. This precept encourages respect for the boundaries and dignity of others. It involves abstaining from engaging in sexual behavior that causes harm or suffering to others. Refraining from false speech. This precept promotes truthfulness and sincerity. It involves abstaining from lying, gossiping, or engaging in harmful speech. Refraining from intoxicants that cloud the mind. This precept encourages clarity of mind and responsible behavior. It involves abstaining from using substances that impair judgment and lead to harmful actions. These precepts provide a framework for ethical living, guiding practitioners to act in ways that promote the well-being of themselves and others. Observing these precepts helps create a sense of inner peace and reduces the karmic consequences of harmful actions. For monastics, the Buddha established a more detailed code of conduct known as the Vinaya. The Vinaya includes rules governing the behavior of monks and nuns, ensuring that they live in a way that is harmonious, disciplined, and conducive to spiritual practice. The Vinaya covers a wide range of topics, including interactions with lay people, the management of monastic property, and the resolution of conflicts within the monastic community. The practice of ethical conduct is not limited to following specific rules. It also involves cultivating virtuous qualities such as generosity, patience, and integrity. Generosity, or dana, is a particularly important virtue in Buddhism. It involves giving freely of one's time, resources, and support to others without expecting anything in return. The practice of generosity helps reduce attachment and greed, fostering a sense of interconnectedness and mutual support. Patience, or khanti, is another essential virtue. It involves maintaining a calm and composed mind in the face of adversity, criticism, or difficulty. The Buddha taught that patience is a form of strength, allowing practitioners to respond to challenges with wisdom and compassion, rather than reacting with anger or frustration. Integrity, or sammakamanta, is the practice of acting in ways that are consistent with one's ethical values and principles. It involves being honest, trustworthy, and reliable in all aspects of one's life. Living with integrity helps build trust and respect in relationships, fostering a sense of harmony and cooperation. The Buddha's emphasis on compassion and ethical conduct extends to social and communal life. He encouraged the establishment of supportive and ethical communities, sangha, that uphold the principles of compassion and ethical conduct. The Sangha serves as both a support system for practitioners and a vehicle for transmitting the Dharma across generations. The principles of compassion and ethical conduct are also reflected in the Buddha's teachings on right livelihood, one of the components of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right livelihood involves earning a living in a manner that does not cause harm or suffering to others. It encourages individuals to choose professions and occupations that are ethical and beneficial to society. The Buddha's teachings on compassion and ethical conduct have had a profound impact on the development of Buddhist societies and cultures. Throughout history, Buddhist communities have established hospitals, schools, and social welfare programs, reflecting their commitment to alleviating suffering and promoting the well-being of all beings. The principles of non-violence, compassion, and ethical conduct have also influenced social and political movements, contributing to the promotion of peace and justice. Nirvana is a central concept in Buddhism, representing the ultimate goal of the Buddhist path, the cessation of suffering and the realization of ultimate freedom. The term nirvana is derived from the Sanskrit word meaning to extinguish or to blow out, indicating the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion that cause suffering. Understanding nirvana requires a deep exploration of Buddhist philosophy and the transformative experiences associated with enlightenment. Nirvana is often described in two aspects: nirvana with remainder, slbuddhism nirvana, and nirvana without remainder, nirupadishisa nirvana. Nirvana with remainder refers to the state attained by an enlightened being who is still alive and experiences the residual effects of past karma. While such a person has eradicated the causes of future rebirth and suffering, they still experience physical sensations and conditions associated with the human body. The Buddha, after his enlightenment, lived in this state until his physical death. Nirvana without remainder, on the other hand, refers to the state attained at the moment of an enlightened being's death, when all residual karma is extinguished, and they are no longer subject to the cycle of birth and death, samsara. This state is often described as complete liberation, free from any form of existence or suffering. The concept of nirvana is closely tied to the Buddha's teachings on the Four Noble Truths. The third noble truth, the truth of the cessation of suffering, nirodha, directly points to nirvana. According to the Buddha, suffering arises from craving and attachment, and by eliminating these causes, one can achieve the cessation of suffering. This cessation is synonymous with attaining nirvana, a state of profound peace and liberation. One of the most challenging aspects of understanding nirvana is its transcendental nature, which goes beyond ordinary human experiences and conceptual frameworks. Nirvana is often described as being beyond dualities such as existence and non-existence, pleasure and pain, or self and non-self. It is a state of perfect tranquility and freedom, free from the limitations and distortions of conditioned existence. The Buddha often used metaphorical language to describe nirvana, acknowledging the limitations of words and conveying its true nature. He likened nirvana to the extinction of a fire, the cooling of a fever, or the crossing of a flood to the other shore. These metaphors suggest a release from the burning passions, the calming of the agitated mind, and the transition to a realm of peace and safety. While nirvana is ultimately a personal and experiential realization, the Buddha provided practical guidance on how to achieve it through the Noble Eightfold Path. This path includes right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each component of the path supports the cultivation of ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom, leading practitioners toward the realization of nirvana. In the context of daily practice, the attainment of nirvana involves a gradual process of purification and transformation. Practitioners are encouraged to develop mindfulness and awareness of their thoughts, emotions, and actions, recognizing the impermanent and interdependent nature of all phenomena. Through consistent practice, they learn to let go of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, gradually reducing the causes of suffering. One of the key insights leading to nirvana is the realization of non-self, anatta. According to the Buddha, the sense of a permanent, unchanging self is an illusion, arising from the interplay of various physical and mental processes. By understanding the true nature of the self as a dynamic and interdependent process, practitioners can free themselves from the attachment to ego and the suffering it engenders. The realization of non-self is closely related to the concept of emptiness, shunyata, a central theme in Mahayana Buddhism. Emptiness refers to the absence of inherent existence in all phenomena, indicating that everything arises and exists in dependence on causes and conditions. This understanding helps practitioners see beyond the surface appearance of things and recognize their interconnected and impermanent nature. The experience of nirvana is often accompanied by profound changes in one's perception and way of being. Enlightened beings are characterized by qualities such as compassion, wisdom, and equanimity. They are free from the defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion, and their actions are motivated by the well-being of all beings. The Buddha and other enlightened beings are often described as radiant and peaceful, embodying the qualities of nirvana in their interactions with the world. While nirvana is the ultimate goal of the Buddhist path, the journey toward it is equally important. The Buddha emphasized the significance of the path itself, encouraging his followers to engage in practices that cultivate mindfulness, ethical conduct, and wisdom. The journey toward nirvana involves continuous self-examination, growth, and transformation, leading to deeper levels of understanding and freedom. In conclusion, nirvana represents the culmination of the Buddhist path, signifying the cessation of suffering and the realization of ultimate freedom. It is a state of profound peace and liberation, beyond the dualities and limitations of conditioned existence. The Buddha's teachings provide practical guidance on how to achieve nirvana through the cultivation of ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. The journey toward nirvana involves a gradual process of purification and transformation, leading to profound changes in one's perception and way of being. The enduring relevance and transformative power of the concept of nirvana continue to inspire practitioners on their path to enlightenment. Chapter 9. Buddhism's influence on global consciousness. The teachings of the Buddha have had a profound and lasting impact on global consciousness, shaping spiritual, philosophical, and cultural landscapes across the world. From its origins in ancient India, Buddhism has spread to various regions, influencing diverse cultures and contributing to the development of new philosophical and spiritual traditions. The adaptability of Buddhism and its emphasis on direct personal experience have allowed it to resonate with people from different backgrounds and contexts, fostering a rich tapestry of thought and practice. One of the earliest regions outside India to be influenced by Buddhism was Central Asia. The spread of Buddhism along the Silk Road facilitated cultural exchanges between East and West, leading to the development of unique forms of Buddhist art, philosophy, and practice. The fusion of Greek and Buddhist elements in Gandhara art, for example, reflects the dynamic interplay between different cultural traditions. The transmission of Buddhist teachings to Central Asia also paved the way for their further spread to China, Korea, and Japan. In China, Buddhism encountered indigenous traditions such as Confucianism and Taoism, leading to the development of distinct Chinese Buddhist schools. The translation of Buddhist texts into Chinese by monks like Kumarajiva and Xuanzang was instrumental in making the teachings accessible to a broader audience. Chinese Buddhism emphasized practices such as Chan, Zen, meditation, Pure Land devotion, and Huayan metaphysics, each contributing to the rich tapestry of Chinese spiritual and intellectual life. The integration of Buddhist principles with Confucian ethics and Taoist philosophy enriched Chinese culture and influenced its literature, art, and social practices. From China, Buddhism spread to Korea and Japan, where it encountered new cultural contexts and underwent further adaptation. In Korea, Buddhism played a significant role in shaping the spiritual and cultural identity of the nation. Korean Buddhist practices such as Seon, Zen meditation, and Pure Land devotion resonated deeply with the Korean people, leading to the establishment of influential monasteries and the flourishing of Buddhist scholarship. In Japan, Buddhism encountered a rich tapestry of indigenous beliefs and practices, leading to the development of unique Japanese Buddhist traditions. Zen Buddhism, with its emphasis on direct experience and meditation, resonated deeply with the samurai class and influenced Japanese culture, art, and aesthetics. The austere simplicity and profound insights of Zen teachings found expression in various aspects of Japanese culture, from tea ceremonies to garden design. Pure Land Buddhism, with its focus on devotion to Amida Buddha, became immensely popular among laypeople, offering a path to salvation accessible to all. The spread of Buddhism to Southeast Asia led to the establishment of vibrant Theravada communities in countries such as Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos. Theravada Buddhism emphasized the Pali Canon and the practice of Vipassana meditation, fostering a rich tradition of monastic scholarship and lay devotion. The integration of Buddhist principles with local customs and beliefs created unique cultural expressions of Buddhism, contributing to the spiritual and social fabric of Southeast Asian societies. In Tibet, Buddhism encountered the indigenous Bon religion, leading to the development of Tibetan Buddhism, a distinct tradition characterized by its rich ritual practices, intricate metaphysical teachings, and emphasis on tantric practices. The establishment of major monasteries and the translation of Buddhist texts into Tibetan facilitated the spread of Buddhism across the Tibetan plateau. Tibetan Buddhism produced renowned scholars and practitioners such as Padmasambhava, Atisha, and Tsongkhapa, whose teachings continue to inspire practitioners worldwide. In the modern era, Buddhism has continued to spread globally, finding new expressions and adaptations in contemporary societies. The teachings of the Buddha resonate with contemporary seekers, offering insights into mindfulness, ethics, and the nature of consciousness. The establishment of Buddhist centers and the translation of texts into various languages have made the teachings accessible to a global audience. The principles of mindfulness and meditation have found particular resonance in the fields of psychology, healthcare, and education, contributing to the development of mindfulness-based interventions and practices. The integration of Buddhist principles into contemporary psychology has led to the development of mindfulness-based therapies, such as mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT. These therapies draw on Buddhist practices of mindfulness and meditation to address issues such as stress, anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. The scientific validation of the benefits of mindfulness practices has contributed to their widespread acceptance and adoption in various therapeutic settings. Buddhism's influence on global consciousness extends beyond individual well-being to broader social and ethical concerns. The principles of compassion, nonviolence, and interdependence have inspired social and political movements advocating for peace, justice, and environmental sustainability. The Engaged Buddhism movement, for example, emphasizes the application of Buddhist principles to social and political issues, promoting activism rooted in compassion and mindfulness. The teachings of the Buddha have also influenced contemporary spiritual and philosophical thought. The emphasis on direct personal experience, ethical conduct, and the interdependent nature of reality resonates with various contemporary spiritual traditions. The integration of Buddhist principles with other spiritual and philosophical frameworks has led to the development of new hybrid traditions and practices, reflecting the dynamic and evolving nature of global consciousness. In conclusion, Buddhism's influence on global consciousness is profound and multifaceted. From its origins in ancient India, Buddhism has spread to various regions, influencing diverse cultures and contributing to the development of new philosophical and spiritual traditions. The adaptability of Buddhism and its emphasis on direct personal experience have allowed it to resonate with people from different backgrounds and contexts, fostering a rich tapestry of thought and practice. The principles of mindfulness, compassion, and interdependence continue to inspire individuals and communities worldwide, contributing to the overall spiritual and intellectual development of humanity. Chapter 10. The Legacy of the Buddha. The legacy of the Buddha is a testament to the enduring relevance and transformative power of his teachings. Over 2,500 years after his enlightenment, the Buddha's insights into the nature of suffering, the causes of suffering, and the path to liberation continue to inspire and guide millions of people worldwide. His teachings have transcended cultural and historical boundaries, influencing spiritual, philosophical, and ethical thought across the globe. One of the most significant aspects of the Buddha's legacy is the establishment of the Dharma, the body of teachings that outline the path to enlightenment. The Dharma provides a comprehensive framework for understanding the human condition and offers practical guidance for overcoming suffering and attaining liberation. The principles of the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path remain central to Buddhist practice, providing a timeless and universal path to inner peace and freedom. The Buddha's emphasis on ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom has had a profound impact on the development of Buddhist societies and cultures. The principles of nonviolence, compassion, and ethical living have influenced social and political movements, contributing to the promotion of peace and justice. The establishment of monastic communities, sangha, has played a crucial role in preserving and transmitting the Buddha's teachings, ensuring their continuity across generations. The monastic sangha, guided by the Vinaya rules, has served as both a support system for practitioners and a vehicle for the dissemination of the Dharma. Monasteries have been centers of learning, meditation, and community service, fostering the spiritual and ethical development of individuals and communities. The monastic tradition has produced renowned scholars, teachers, and practitioners who have contributed to the rich tapestry of Buddhist thought and practice. The Buddha's legacy also includes the rich diversity of Buddhist traditions that have developed over the centuries. From the early Theravada tradition to the Mahayana and Vajrayana schools, each tradition has contributed unique perspectives and practices to the overall body of Buddhist teachings. The Theravada tradition, with its emphasis on the Pali Canon and Vipassana meditation, has fostered a deep commitment to the preservation and practice of the original teachings of the Buddha. The Mahayana tradition, which includes schools such as Zen, Pure Land, and Huayan, has expanded the scope of the Buddha's teachings to include the ideal of the bodhisattva, a being dedicated to attaining enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. The Mahayana emphasis on compassion and the cultivation of wisdom has enriched the spiritual and philosophical dimensions of Buddhism, inspiring practices such as Zen meditation and Pure Land devotion. The Vajrayana tradition, with its intricate tantric practices and profound metaphysical teachings, has added a rich layer of ritual and symbolism to the Buddhist path. Tibetan Buddhism, in particular, has produced renowned teachers and practitioners who have contributed to the global dissemination of Buddhist teachings. The integration of tantric practices with the principles of compassion and wisdom has created a unique and transformative path to enlightenment. The Buddha's teachings have also found resonance in contemporary spiritual and philosophical thought. The principles of mindfulness, ethical conduct, and the interdependent nature of reality have influenced various contemporary spiritual traditions and practices. The integration of Buddhist principles with other spiritual and philosophical frameworks has led to the development of new hybrid traditions and practices, reflecting the dynamic and evolving nature of spiritual thought. The scientific validation of mindfulness and meditation practices has further contributed to the Buddha's legacy. Research has demonstrated the positive effects of mindfulness on mental and physical health, leading to the widespread adoption of mindfulness-based interventions in healthcare, education, and the workplace. The principles of mindfulness and meditation have been integrated into therapeutic practices, contributing to the overall well-being of individuals and communities. The Buddha's legacy is also reflected in the enduring impact of his teachings on ethical and social issues. The principles of nonviolence, compassion, and ethical conduct have inspired social and political movements advocating for peace, justice, and environmental sustainability. The engaged Buddhism movement emphasizes the application of Buddhist principles to social and political issues, promoting activism rooted in compassion and mindfulness. In conclusion, the legacy of the Buddha is a testament to the enduring relevance and transformative power of his teachings. The establishment of the Dharma, the preservation of the monastic Sangha, and the rich diversity of Buddhist traditions all contribute to the continued influence of the Buddha's insights on global consciousness. The principles of mindfulness, compassion, and ethical conduct continue to inspire individuals and communities worldwide, fostering a sense of inner peace, social harmony, and universal well-being. Chapter 11. Reflections on the Buddha's impact. Reflecting on the Buddha's impact on human consciousness and society reveals a profound and multifaceted legacy that continues to resonate across time and cultures. The Buddha's teachings have not only provided a path to personal enlightenment, but have also shaped the spiritual, philosophical, and ethical dimensions of numerous societies. His insights into the nature of suffering, the causes of suffering, and the path to liberation offer timeless wisdom that continues to inspire and guide individuals on their spiritual journeys. One of the most profound impacts of the Buddha's teachings is the transformation of personal consciousness. The principles of mindfulness, ethical conduct, and wisdom provide practical tools for understanding the mind, cultivating inner peace, and realizing the true nature of existence. Practitioners of Buddhism often report profound changes in their perception and way of being, characterized by greater clarity, compassion, and equanimity. The practices of meditation and mindfulness foster a deep sense of presence and intentionality, enabling individuals to navigate life's challenges with greater resilience and insight. The Buddha's emphasis on ethical conduct and compassion has had a significant impact on the development of social and moral values. The principles of nonviolence, honesty, and respect for all beings have influenced ethical thought and practices across cultures. The 5 precepts, which encourage refraining from harming living beings, stealing, sexual misconduct, false speech, and intoxicants, provide a moral framework that promotes harmony and reduces suffering. These ethical guidelines have been adopted and adapted by various Buddhist communities, contributing to the overall well-being of societies. The establishment of the monastic Sangha and the preservation of the Vinaya rules have played a crucial role in maintaining the ethical integrity of Buddhist communities. Monasteries have served as centers of learning, meditation, and community service, fostering the spiritual and ethical development of individuals and communities. The monastic tradition has produced renowned scholars, teachers, and practitioners who have contributed to the rich tapestry of Buddhist thought and practice. The Buddha's teachings on compassion and social responsibility have also inspired numerous social and political movements. The principles of nonviolence and compassion have been central to movements advocating for peace, justice, and environmental sustainability. The engaged Buddhism movement, which emphasizes the application of Buddhist principles to social and political issues, has promoted activism rooted in compassion and mindfulness. Figures such as Thich Nhat Hanh, the Dalai Lama, and Aung San Suu Kyi have drawn on Buddhist teachings to advocate for social change and human rights. The Buddha's insights into the nature of suffering and the causes of suffering have also influenced contemporary psychology and mental health practices. The integration of mindfulness and meditation into therapeutic practices has provided effective tools for addressing issues such as stress, anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. Mindfulness-based interventions, such as mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, have been widely adopted in clinical settings, contributing to the overall well-being of individuals. The scientific validation of mindfulness and meditation practices has further contributed to the Buddha's impact on contemporary thought. Research has demonstrated the positive effects of mindfulness on mental and physical health, leading to the widespread adoption of these practices in healthcare, education, and the workplace. The principles of mindfulness and meditation have been integrated into various therapeutic practices, contributing to the overall well-being of individuals and communities. The Buddha's teachings have also found resonance in contemporary spiritual and philosophical thought. The principles of direct personal experience, ethical conduct, and the interdependent nature of reality have influenced various contemporary spiritual traditions and practices. The integration of Buddhist principles with other spiritual and philosophical frameworks has led to the development of new hybrid traditions and practices, reflecting the dynamic and evolving nature of spiritual thought. The Buddha's impact on art and culture is also significant. Buddhist art, with its rich symbolism and aesthetic qualities, has influenced various artistic traditions across cultures. From the serene statues of the Buddha to the intricate mandalas of Tibetan Buddhism, Buddhist art has conveyed the profound spiritual insights and teachings of the Buddha. The principles of simplicity, harmony, and mindfulness have also influenced various aspects of culture, from architecture to literature to performing arts. In conclusion, reflecting on the Buddha's impact reveals a profound and multifaceted legacy that continues to resonate across time and cultures. The transformation of personal consciousness, the influence on social and moral values, the inspiration for social and political movements, and the contributions to contemporary psychology and mental health practices all highlight the enduring relevance and transformative power of the Buddha's teachings. The principles of mindfulness, compassion, and ethical conduct continue to inspire individuals and communities worldwide, fostering a sense of inner peace, social harmony, and universal well-being. Chapter 12. Conclusion. The teachings of the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, represent a profound and transformative wisdom that has endured for over 2,500 years. His insights into the nature of suffering, the causes of suffering, and the path to liberation offer timeless guidance for individuals seeking to overcome the challenges of existence and attain inner peace and freedom. The Buddha's legacy is a testament to the enduring relevance and transformative power of his teachings, which continue to inspire and guide millions of people worldwide. The journey of Siddhartha Gautama from a sheltered prince to an enlightened teacher is a powerful narrative of personal transformation and spiritual awakening. His quest for understanding led him to explore various paths of renunciation and asceticism, ultimately realizing the middle way, a balanced approach that avoids the extremes of indulgence and self-mortification. His enlightenment under the Bodhi tree marked the culmination of his quest and the beginning of his mission to share his profound insights with the world. The Buddha's teachings, encapsulated in the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, provide a comprehensive framework for understanding the human condition and overcoming suffering. The principles of ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom offer practical tools for cultivating inner peace, compassion, and insight. The practices of mindfulness and meditation foster a deep sense of presence and intentionality, enabling individuals to navigate life's challenges with greater resilience and understanding. The spread of Buddhism across various regions and cultures has led to the development of diverse traditions and practices, each contributing unique perspectives and insights to the overall body of Buddhist teachings. The Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana traditions, among others, have enriched the spiritual and philosophical dimensions of Buddhism, reflecting the dynamic and evolving nature of the path to enlightenment. The influence of the Buddha's teachings extends beyond personal transformation to broader social and ethical concerns. The principles of nonviolence, compassion, and ethical conduct have inspired social and political movements advocating for peace, justice, and environmental sustainability. The engaged Buddhism movement emphasizes the application of Buddhist principles to social and political issues, promoting activism rooted in compassion and mindfulness. The integration of mindfulness and meditation into contemporary psychology and mental health practices has provided effective tools for addressing issues such as stress, anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. The scientific validation of the benefits of mindfulness practices has contributed to their widespread acceptance and adoption in various therapeutic settings. The principles of mindfulness and meditation have been integrated into therapeutic practices, contributing to the overall well-being of individuals and communities. The Buddha's teachings have also found resonance in contemporary spiritual and philosophical thought. The principles of direct personal experience, ethical conduct, and the interdependent nature of reality have influenced various contemporary spiritual traditions and practices. The integration of Buddhist principles with other spiritual and philosophical frameworks has led to the development of new hybrid traditions and practices, reflecting the dynamic and evolving nature of spiritual thought. In conclusion, the teachings of the Buddha represent a profound and transformative wisdom that continues to inspire and guide individuals on their spiritual journeys. The principles of mindfulness, compassion, and ethical conduct offer timeless guidance for overcoming suffering and attaining inner peace and freedom. The enduring relevance and transformative power of the Buddha's teachings highlight their significance for individuals and societies worldwide, fostering a sense of inner peace, social harmony, and universal well-being. The Buddha's legacy is a testament to the enduring relevance and transformative power of his teachings, which continue to inspire and guide millions of people worldwide.